Welcome to this explainer. You know, today we're stepping back in time to examine one of the absolute most chilling and deeply unsettling chapters in American true crime history. I really want you to lower the lights and just imagine a time when the very concept of safety was completely shattered for millions of people. We're looking at the case of the man who cast a massive, dark shadow over the entire state of California, a figure who basically turned those warm, breezy summer nights into a waking nightmare. So today we're going to visually deconstruct how this fear just gripped a community, how a totally unprecedented investigation unfolded, and how ordinary citizens ultimately fought back. Imagine going to sleep in your own home, believing you're safe. I want you to really sit with that thought for a second. Because, right, our homes are our sanctuaries. At the end of a long day, you lock the door, you turn off the lights, you crawl into bed, and you just assume that the walls around you are going to keep the dangers of the outside world at bay. Now imagine the absolute horror of having that safe haven completely, silently breached in the middle of the night by someone literally climbing through a window. The profound vulnerability of being attacked right where you are supposed to be the most protected is exactly what makes this case so deeply terrifying, even decades later. No warning, no pattern, no mercy. Now, usually investigators can track a specific method of operation or a certain target demographic, right? But here, there was none of that. So the crucial point is the sheer, absolute randomness of the threat. That was his most paralyzing weapon. It was this total unpredictability that earned the killer that terrifying moniker from the media, the Night Stalker. I mean, when literally anyone could be the next victim, everyone is living in a constant state of high alert. And that brings us to our setting, 1985. It's absolutely crucial to contextualize exactly when this went down. You see, the summer of '85 in California was supposed to be all about sunshine, beaches, and carefree living. Instead, it became this season defined by a completely suffocating wave of panic. Every single evening, as the sun went down, a collective anxiety just spiked across the state. Let's break down exactly how this year became so synonymous with terror, starting with how the public and the authorities were responding to this invisible threat. Section 1, California in Terror, a city living in fear. Okay, let's dive into this. To truly grasp the sheer magnitude of this case, you gotta look at the victimology, or honestly, the total lack of it. We're talking young couples, elderly folks, entire families. If you were young, you weren't safe. If you were older, you weren't safe. Whether you lived totally alone or in a packed house, you were a potential target. Like I said, the randomness was the terror. And during that agonizing summer, you see this massive divide open up between citizens and authorities. On one side, you've got a community in full-on defensive mode. People are sleeping with all the lights blazing, buying up security alarms, literally clearing out local animal shelters to get guard dogs. Every strange sound outside a window became a reason for sheer panic. On the other side, authorities were really struggling. They were trying to connect the dots of this patternless crime spree across all these different jurisdictions. And remember, this is way before the era of modern digital databases. It was a terrifying disconnect. Section 2. The hunt begins. Connecting the crimes. Now, while the killer's choice of victims was totally chaotic, the crime scenes themselves actually held the keys. Investigators were working around the clock on this. They meticulously collected a partial fingerprint they managed to lift from a rearview mirror. They documented these very specific, obvious shoe prints left in the dirt outside the homes, and they compiled some truly harrowing witness descriptions from the people who had narrowly survived. Basically, they were building a profile, piece by puzzle piece, just hoping for one fatal mistake. But, for a really long time, this was all they had, a tall, thin man with dark hair, which is just agonizingly vague, right? In 1985, tens of thousands of people in California fit that basic description, and the intense media coverage kept broadcasting this vague profile across the state, which honestly just threw gasoline on the fear. Suddenly, every tall, dark-haired guy walking down the street at dusk became a source of suspicion. The phantom kind of had a shape now, but still no face. All right, moving to Section 3, Breakthrough and Capture. Suspect identified. Let's move to and see how this builds, because out of nowhere, the dark mystery is pierced at breakneck speed. First, that crucial forensic evidence finally provides undeniable links between the crimes. Second, a massive collaborative effort definitively identifies our suspect as Richard Ramirez. Third, in a super bold move, law enforcement releases his photograph directly to the public. And fourth, the ultimate climax, the public captures him. Members of the public spotted Ramirez and chased him through the streets. Seriously, the incredible twist of this entire narrative is exactly that. The very same people who had been absolutely terrorized for months, jumping at every creaking floorboard. The second they saw his face from the morning papers, they didn't run. No, they mobilized. When Ramirez was spotted in East Los Angeles, ordinary citizens chased him down, subdued him, and literally held him there until law enforcement could show up and make the arrest. Talk about the prey turning on the predator, right? Section 4. Trial and Justice. The nightmare ends. Looking at the grand scope of this tragedy, it moved really swiftly from the suffocating terror of summer '85 to the explosive capture, and then straight into a trial that pretty much demanded worldwide attention. Now, it did force survivors to relive their absolute worst nightmares over months and months of grueling testimony, all while a mountain of forensic evidence was laid out. But ultimately, the verdict, finding him guilty on numerous serious charges, brought some necessary final accountability and a really profound sense of relief to so many families. And that actually leaves us with this final, powerful thought for our explainer today. Fear can spread quickly, but so can determination. The story of the Night Stalker is a horrifying testament to the evil that can lurk in the shadows, for sure. But if there's a real takeaway here, it's found in the response. It was the combined, totally unyielding determination of investigators working tirelessly through the night, forensic experts demanding answers from the evidence, and ultimately, ordinary citizens flat out refusing to be victims anymore that conquered the shadow over California. It really makes you wonder, when faced with an unprecedented threat, just how much power lies simply in a community's refusal to surrender its streets. Thank you so much for exploring this case with me today. Stay curious, stay vigilant, and keep learning.